What's going on, guys? Blazing here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining me on another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, today we've got an exciting episode ready for you. We have a very dear friend to me that I owe a lot of, me getting started on YouTube with, putting out my content. He was a great inspiration to me. You've seen him on the shows on Sundays. It is the one, the only JR Star 3. Jay, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing amazing. Just another day, another day we can help out other players.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so happy you're on the channel. You've definitely been one of those people that has helped me, and I mean, just so the community knows, me and Jay talk weekly outside of game and everything on the phone for quite some time. So we discuss about everything that goes on in the episodes on Sunday and things to make out for like the content creator games and stuff. So this guy is a major part of what I do here. So that said, though, if you already haven't, make sure you go on to his channel. It'll be in the description below, and give him a follow, guys. It doesn't cost anything. He also does not YouTube, sorry, Twitch streams, where he does a lot of account help live, and he's very helpful, right? So,
Yeah.
Jay, we are here today to talk about what?
The top 10 things that new players should avoid doing.
Okay, all right. There's a lot of those, right? I mean, playing around for 3 years, I can tell you, I definitely made some of these mistakes early on, and I think this video is going to be an educational purpose for a lot of these new players coming in. So, all right. So, how about you start us off with the first one, Jay?
Well, the most asked question that I've always, been asked in the chat or even like in Discord is who to 60 next? Like which champion do I actually prioritize? Because that's going to be the foundation of putting my gear, my, books and everything else. So that is a very important thing that a lot of people will 60. I've seen people 60 commons, rares that don't even have usage other than faction wars. So it is like so important to actually do that. In terms of how to choose, I always tell new players, I always tell them, think of an analogy kind of like work, right? If I'm going to invest these books and time and gear and silver and everything into this champion, who's going to give me the most value, right? Who's going to give me the most ROI in multiple areas in the game? If I'm trying to do clan boss, if I'm trying to do dragon or spider, you want a 60 someone that you know that's going to give you full value no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It is definitely, even on Discord, Reddit's, it is one of the most popular questions. And just to be quite frank, there's a lot of good answers, guys. Every content creator is going to have a different answer. Every person out there is going to have a different answer. But ultimately, I think the decision is really up to you. And it's do some homework on the champion. Don't just automatically 6-star somebody or 6-star a duplicate of somebody because somebody said so. Because that champion may not help your account, right? I can tell you for myself, as soon as Hydra was released, I upgraded 3 Geos to 6 stars, booked them out, everything. Guess what? I think I might be using one right now. So that is a very solid one. So this next one is actually kind of a follow up to Who to 60 Next, but this is booking the proper champions, right? A while back, I did a video of champions that you could really use all the way up into the end game and not have to book. And I find that a lot of people are booking champions or putting these resources into them when either A, they don't need to, right? Or B, it's they pulled them and it's their brand new shiny, so they want to build them right away. Uh, but then they don't get a return on investment with it. So I feel like watching who you book is a big mistake a lot of players do. What do you think, Jay?
Yes. We all know that Epic and Lego books are, especially Lego books, are very hard to acquire because most players can't really like speed their way to Ultra Nightmare. They usually get to Brutal Nightmare, farm that a while. So making sure you use you can't go back. It's not like gear. You can just remove gear off a champion or masteries. You can reset it for gems. Once you book someone, you're never gonna get those resources back. So it's very important to make sure that you book the champions that really need it, and then like you said, some champions you just build them faster speed, and you'll just catch up. So.
All right, so number three, Jay, what do you got for us, man?
Basically, don't follow in-game recommendations. When you're starting the game's gonna have like quotations, tutorials, telling you things that you should focus your Great Hall on, like attack. They're just teaching the concepts of the game, but it actually gives a little slight misleading to the player, thinking that that's the way to go, that's the way to prioritize. When in actuality, you have to play the account a little bit more smarter, ask other people, or even look, on certain YouTubes or websites. But another thing as well is the gearing recommendations. They tell people to use these sets that are not going to give you a lot of value early on. Most people want to go farm dragon, not ice golem. So, or go back to campaign and farm those bosses when you can be getting better gear. So be careful when you're actually following what the tutorial slash in-game recommendations is literally telling you to focus on right away.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Especially the gearing recommendations. I am kind of happy that they're adding this player recommendations for gearing. It has a button there that's existing currently, but we can't use. But even at that, guys, still be careful. Again, it takes time. Do your homework and figure out what the build is going to be. There's a lot of websites out there, right, that you can use. There's Gessel Gaming GG. There's Hell Hades. There's the one Chosen Scott Aftershock. There's a Yumi Love, and I mean, there's like 300 content creators for Raid. Do some homework and pick the proper builds, pick the proper gear to put on that champion. All right, so the next one is actually going to be proper utilization of your silver. I recently just did a takeover for a viewer, Steven, and we had a lot of like 3-star and 4-star gear that was leveled to 16, right? Which is kind of a big no-no. If you're going to utilize that gear for early game, you're going to be replacing that really fast, right? Once you start getting into dragon, those 3 stars and 4 stars, common, uncommon, rares, you're going to start replacing those with like a 5-star, 6-star rare epic. So proper utilization of knowing what gear to level and not bringing everything up to 16, because honestly, not everything needs to go up to 16. Like, your weapons, uh, some of your shields, doesn't really need to go up to 16. It works perfectly fine at 12 or 8, depending on where you are in the game, right? Until you start moving into the mid game, I feel nothing really needs to go past 12 unless it's going to be on a champion that you're consistently using. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. So many people invest into like the gear that they're getting from the bosses, the game that whatever the game gives them in the beginning, and they just basically they go ham, and then they can't do nothing. You can't even pull misery shards. You can't use brews. You can't like level any good equipment that you might get from like Call the Arbiter or any free gear. Like you can't do nothing, and you pretty much get blocked to the point where you're like, oh, I have energy, but you're forced to use that energy to get silver, which you should have been saving in the first place.
Jay, what do you got next for us?
The next one is going to be investing your energy properly to maximize return on investment. What does that actually mean? Okay, so a lot of, we get every 6 hours, if you're free to play, you can get yourself, basically free energy. Or if you're doing all your quests, if you're saving the free energy that comes from the shop, you know, basically a lot of players will dump all their energy, but they're not actually maximizing it. So the way to maximize your energy is making sure you're either double or triple dipping. Why go get some, go do brutal, which is gonna give you might get some chickens and silver, but if there's a dragon tournament and there might be, let's say, quotations like a champion training event, you can actually farm chickens while also getting gear. That gear can turn into silver, right? And then if there's an artifact enhancement, you're also able to do that, level up your account, and then get tons of gear leveled up. Equip that to the champions that you've been, working on, and this way you're basically using energy for multiple areas and getting multiple value instead of just doing separate things and wasting energy that way.
Yeah, I agree. Energy efficiency is definitely something a lot of people struggle with, especially in the early game, because when you first start, you get so much energy and you're like, oh, I got an abundance of it. But I feel like that builds you and gives you bad habits, where you're just kind of consistently wasting everything in campaign farming or, in failed runs and stuff like that. So using that energy to best get the return on investment is a great thing. The first piece I would say is the moment you can get yourself a stage 20 solo farmer for any dungeon, utilize that dungeon, utilize that champion. So this next one's actually going to be touching up on a little bit of what you just said, Jay, which is completing the missions while you're currently, progressing through that content. Now, a lot of us are going to have these Ramantu missions. A lot of us are going to have these Arbiter missions, especially when you're getting into early game. A lot of these missions and a lot of the quests are going to have you go back and redo like Karak's Castle, a lot of the earlier game stuff. And it's not like you can complete it in like, let's say, hard mode or brutal. It's going to have you go back to normal. So completing those quests, completing those missions while you're currently in that stage is huge, because you don't want to be, double backing back and wasting the energy, because you're not going to get the same return on investment while you're doing normal as opposed to brutal or hard, right? What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. So many players will totally avoid that, and like they'll be like level 50, and they've only done like 30% of their challenges, and I'm like, that's free stuff. You've been asking me who to book and what champions to level 60. Like, there's the resources we need to give to those champions. They're there for you for free, and the missions, right? They basically give you other resources, not like just energy. They give you gems and a whole bunch of things. And back to what we were originally saying, investing energy properly, people will go too far, then they have to go back and go back to do like normal and hard campaign. Who wants to do that? So why don't just do it when you're already there? So
All right, we're getting close to the end here, and this next one I feel is kind of big. So, Jay, why don't you take this one?
this one's going to be gem utilization. Basically, a lot of players will waste a lot of their gems. Like they see like some special type of summon, they're thinking, oh, I could use the shop. I might want to buy the big ancient shard pack, or they'll use it to like fully master a champion, which most free to play or new players should not do that. Right? Use your energy instead of that. Now, another thing is the gem mine. Right? They're not getting the gem mine to level 3 as soon as possible, and you might be like, well, why? Well, after a certain amount of days, which about I think is 3 months, you basically start getting a return on investment. And you might be like, well, why do I need that ROI right away? Well, once you start getting those free gems after you've done the gem mine, we can then use those gems in the faction guardians, aka sparring pit, because we need to actually open up the sparring pit. When you start off, you only get one for free. Then you have to open up two, three, four, and five. So that by getting the gem mine maxed, and then over time we can get ourselves a full sparring pit. Now we can get ourselves free chickens, so we can of course get more 60s. And then of course since we've helped out Hoot at 60, that all works together. So that's gem utilization.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Opening up that gem mine is really huge. I mean, you get a total of 15 gems once it's level 3 per day, which is almost like 450 at the end of the month. And it's huge to helping you complete some of these fusions that come up because roughly about 400 or 500 gems is what you're going to really need based with your energy that you get every day to try to complete every event other than the summoning ones. Uh, so it's really, really huge. And yeah, the sparring pit, I mean, I don't go a day without it. I've unlocked all three on mine. They're to the max. So, you don't need to unlock all three of them at the same time to the max, but it does help once you get in there. Like you will, definitely get a great return on investment. All right, so this next part is actually kind of crucial because it definitely takes effect in a lot of the game, right? Is not ignoring your classic arena or even your tag team arena, right? It definitely is big because classic arena is going to provide you, the energy refills after the 5 battles, whether you win or lose. It is going to provide you the medals or crests needed to, level up your great hull so you can get the resistance or accuracy or crit damage that you need. And then, even 3v3 arena, everybody doesn't like doing it, but there are some great rewards in there, right? We get the 300 energy, we get the ancient shard, you can definitely get the type charms. And, if you can get into silver early on, then you get that chance of a void shard. And that void shard could be your Taurus or Marichka. Jay, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, arena is crazy. A lot of people like they'll do it, but they won't actually do it as much as like energy, their energy investment. They're basically they'll do a few battles, they'll stop, and it's like no, you need to actually the same way that you're using your energy every 6 hours, you need to be using all your tokens anytime, every single time they refill. And the reason for that is because we need those, eventually as you get farther and farther to get those gold medals because we need to focus on the Great Hall on prioritizing. One of the most important is accuracy. A lot of players don't have, especially newer free to play, don't have a lot of resources to get every single champion fully ascended, fully 60. That's where you get your accuracy anyways, right? If the champion is an ASDD, which is like a support or debuffer. So I see so many accounts that just cannot hit the numbers because they can't get enough banners from Spider. So the only way to get it is through your Great Hall, unless you're getting it in the substats or artifacts set. So it's so important to do arena.
So this next part, I feel, has probably one of the best returns on investment. And it is a little time consuming, but Jay, what do you got for us?
Basically, don't ignore the faction wars because it is a big, huge investment. And I'll explain. So a lot of players will be like maybe like 50 to 70, and they've maybe they got to like Nightmare, Ultra Nightmare finally, unless if they're doing like Unkillable. They have a decent amount of gear, but they don't. But they, in terms of who to 60, they're not really thinking like that far ahead. They just skip faction wars completely because they're like, oh, it's too hard, or the bosses, or I don't know information. Because not like Plarium's, giving a lot of like tutorials on it, right? They just basically say, hey, you can get these stuff here. So the main reason to focus on faction wars is because glyphs, right? And the other resources that you can get there as well, like books, epic books, Lego books. Now we have soulstones. It's just so it's free. Why not? And most of the champions that I tell people to build for the rest of the game can also be used in faction wars. So if you use a lot of the things that we've been telling you from the start of this list, it's so important. The difference between being able to like do a budget unkillable comp. People are always trying to get their man eaters or their painkeepers at a certain speed. Having that extra 2 or 3 speed that you could have got from a speed glyph or accuracy, so you don't get more than 3% is so crucial. So I would never ever skip faction wars. I would do it even if I only have like one champion, right? That's super like level 60. They can still get you all the way to 12 or even 14 by themselves, even if you have just chickens uncommons. So don't forget faction wars.
Yeah, no. I mean, let's not forget that the grand prize of completing Faction Wars is Lydia, who is a counter to, the duo, who enables you to do a lot of things in game, right? But let's also not forget that Faction Wars rewards you with materials for the Forge, which can definitely help your account with gear. Getting a 5 or 6 star piece of perception or even resilience is still good in the early game, right? And the return on investment for the silver wise, that's huge as well, because even if you're not going to use the gear that's 3 or 4 star, you can still craft it and get the silver you need again to be able to utilize it in other content in the game or something else that you need in the game. And this last one, guys, this last one is very, very crucial for a beginning player, right? And it's FOMO, guys. Fear of missing out. Plarium just throws out shard event after shard event for us, right? They put all these events out. Like you can see here, we got Battle Kazard right now to 10x. And I mean, he's probably one of the best solo farmers for stage 20. I mean, most of you should already got Artak, but they just throw so much stuff out there that you feel you're going to miss out on something, the next big thing, which may be true. But if you take your resources and everything we talked about earlier in this video and you use it wisely, there's no need to be going after every single shard event, right? I can't tell you how many champions I have in my vault that I haven't even touched or built, right? You could see here I've got so many that are just sitting there. There's dupes. I've got more here that are just kind of just sitting there and that I haven't really used. So don't fear, don't FOMO into everything. Don't think that you have to do every single event. Pick and choose which ones you're going to do that are going to reward you with the best return on investment. So what are your thoughts about on this, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to go for every single thing. And if you take everything that we've been talking about, right, like who to 60, who to book, if you see a champion that you're like, wow, that champion would really, really like, like this fusion would carry my account like an 80% of the content, and I don't know who to 60 next, but if I had it, I would definitely go for it. Well, then that follows through with what we've been saying. But if it's just some shiny thing that player is trying to throw in your face, make you waste your resources, they're pretty smart. They're always trying to get people to have low resources so that you spend. But if you want to be free to play or you want to be smart against Plarium, you have to make sure not to fall into the FOMO. And most of the time, sometimes they will come around and do another 10x or a guaranteed, or you might just pull the champion during a 2x Ancients or 2x Sacred. So there's no rush.
Yeah, no, definitely. Don't think for a second that they're not going to entice you with another 10x for a particular champion. They're masters on the monetization. You don't become a $3 billion company by not knowing what you're doing. So just sit back, enjoy the game, enjoy it for what it is, and when the time comes and you pull that champion, great. But make sure you don't need to go for everything. That's what we're trying to say here. But so yeah, guys, this hopefully this really helped you. If it did, again, give us a thumbs up on the video. Leave us a comment down below if you have any questions or if you think we missed anything. But Jay, before I let you go, man, shout outs. I love doing them on the channel. What you got for me?
I want to actually shout out. Last time I shout out a Buster Choice, but I want to actually shout out one of my moderators. Sacrificial. He's always been there. He's always helping out. He's always making sure things are good in my Twitch chat, and he's always very supportive whenever I need help. Honestly, I usually do content creators, but at the moment, I've already pretty much done everybody I can do. So that's who I would shout out.
Hey, there's nothing wrong about that, man. Our communities are great. The mods and the discords that we have, well, not me, but you. Um, if a lot of the things that we do is because we get the support from these people. So, shout out to everybody out there who supports their content creator, whether it be through being a Discord mod or a streaming mod or whatever it is. Shout out to you guys as well. But yeah. So as always, guys, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. We'll catch you guys on the next one.